Which fictional hero isn't actually all that good? Parks and Rec is known to be a heartwarming feel-good show, and that aspect of it is extremely difficult to reconcile against just how fucking poorly they treat Gary. It's not just good-natured ribbing. They actively bully him and create a horrible work environment for him. The only reason he doesn't seem to notice is that he's some kind of Zen master or something, like the show overall. But that part of it has not aged well whatsoever. So I guess this answer would be most of the main ensemble of Parks and Rec. Otis Milburn in Sex Education. More of a protagonist than a hero, I guess. At the window, and he literally treats everyone like shit to the point that he's a selfish, immature, and narcissistic asshole that he continuously repeats his mistakes and his apologies are half-assed. His unhealthy obsession with Maeve makes it hard for me to root for him and that couple. Punisher, Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, is a prime example of how a hero doesn't care about the lives of others, even villains. The good news is that for the most part, his crusade is directed against crime. The Punisher does not experience the slightest wavering of conscience and sends his opponents to the next world in batches. This is his main motivation that has driven him for years. Moreover, he believes in what he is doing so much that he is not even affected by the punishing gaze of the Ghost Rider, Albus Dumbledore. I didn't even have to wait until the final books to be told. It was fairly obvious from the start. Certainly by Poe. You mean to tell me that Albus, whom James Potter trusted with his family heirloom, wouldn't have known who the family's secret keeper was? Yet he let Sirius rot in Azkaban for 12 years. Never spoke a word in his defense against the Wisingomer Albus himself led. I truly believe his only problem with Riddle is that Riddle accomplished what Albus couldn't. Gordon Bombay is an absolute horror show of a person. He openly mocks a judge and opposing counsel, gets caught drinking and driving, is then furious his boss gives him 6 months paid leave to sort it out. He drives a limo full of kids across a frozen lake, teaches them to cheat, and then bangs a player's mum. He steals banks from his friends on a technicality, and absolutely takes a run at the local peewee hockey coach. All because he hit a post on a penalty shot, and then the entire team lost in overtime. Han Solo might seem like the ultimate rebel hero, and let's not forget he started out as a self-serving scoundrel. Dude was all about smuggling and dodging debts until he got roped into the whole rebellion gig. Sure, he came through in the end, but let's not ignore his shady past. Still, gotta give him props for his charisma and that iconic blaster. So yeah, Han's more of a grey area hero. But hey, that's what makes him interesting, right? I'm going to get hate for this, but Robin Williams' character in Mrs. Doubtfire. Dude was a shitty husband and father, and when he was given very fair visitation rights, he decided to ignore them and deceive his entire family. That's insane. Also, he vandalized his ex's boyfriend's car and almost killed him. And the boyfriend was a genuinely nice person who was good to his kids. That is psycho behavior. Wanda in WandaVision. She holds an entire town physically and psychically hostage in a fantasy world she created so she wouldn't have to deal with her trauma. She is aware of the suffering she is causing, does it anyway. When she releases the town, it's treated as a selfless sacrifice, when really she held hundreds of people in a mental prison for months and only stopped when she was forced to. Rorschach from Watchmen. I don't think this is necessarily widespread, but there's definitely a subset of people who seem to think he's the good one in that story, that he's the only one trying to uphold justice and truth. Realistically, he's a misogynistic and brutal vigilante whose main virtue is that he's uncompromising, a trait that Watchmen is trying to satirize deconstruct. Vast majority of the characters mentioned were never intended to be portrayed as typical heroes. Characters like House, Frank Castle, Yagami Light, and Walter White are not meant to be heroes, and anyone that actually pays attention to the media they are in would not idolize them. They all range from anti-heroes to just plain villains that happen to be the main character. Peter Rabbit in the movie. All the animals. Really. The human guy grew his garden fair and square. It prospered only due to his hard work, for not wanting the literal fruit of his labor stolen by some freeloaders who did nothing to earn it. And Peter is a hero for literally trying to kill him when he just tried to protect his stuff. Rick Deckard from Blade Runner. Batty is the hero and Deckard is the villain in the movie. Deckard works for an evil government and guns down innocent people who have done nothing more than try to live. The movie tries over and over to show you this. But most people just look past that and focus on the good guy cop movie. Like Yagami from Death Note, actions become increasingly morally questionable as he manipulates and kills not only criminals but also innocent people who stand in his way, ultimately becoming more of an anti-hero or even a villain. Most are PG characters, decimating animal populations to grab one in 20 fur drops. Stealing everything not nailed down in someone's home. Games love to paint characters like space pirates as bad guys. But even as good guys, I've probably decimated or stolen more in a week than most of them have stolen in their lifetime. Big Trouble in Little China. Jack Burton pretty much gets beat up the entire movie until the showdown with Lo Pan where his excellent hand-eye coordination saves him, which was well set up earlier. He is really just along for the ride with his buddy beating up most of the guys. I love that movie. Most illegal or unethical actions by a hero would be deemed unacceptable in real life. I think it's one of the reasons some stray from fiction as they get older, depending on your life experiences. Watching a hero mow down a group of nondescript bad guys just becomes less pleasant. MCU Iron Man, I'll admit, he finally does stop Thanos. But a shocking number of villains and threats he faces are literally created by him. Even one after his death. Heck, one of his movies even starts by him saying we create our own villains. The Doctor. He constantly endangers humans by taking them to dangerous places throughout time and space. Some of them even die on his watch. Even though some of them get resurrected, it still doesn't change the fact that they died due to his negligence. Paul Atreides. He is not the hero of Dune, but the villain, and he knows this. He is well aware that his rise to power will be the deaths of billions of people. The only good thing Paul does is sire his son Leto too, who becomes the God Emperor. Does Edmond Dantes count as a hero? He's one of the best characters in fiction, but that man is far from heroic in the things he does. He's perhaps the hero of his story, and I think even he views himself as a vile creature fueled by revenge. Any of the characters in cop shows, the ones where they're constantly breaking the law by beating up suspects or intimidating witnesses or breaking into houses to find evidence, and it's all presented like they're heroes for doing it. The man in the yellow hat. You keep leaving this monkey unsupervised and he causes mischief. It used to be when you ended up with a stowaway monkey, all pillaging other civilizations' treasures, you took some damn accountability. The number of people here who think that main character is supposed to be the same as hero is kinda worrying. Half the comments here are about characters that nobody's sane should ever consider a hero even for a moment. After Doctor Strange Mom, I'm not sure you can really call her a hero anymore. But Wanda Maximoff's Scarlet Witch. Even before that movie, she did quite a bit of questionable things, especially in WandaVision. Achilles, read the Iliad. It is not quite the epic story that the Odyssey offers, but its depth is in characters and choices, though certainly not limited to those two. It is an amazing story. The fans, grown man going around picking up high school girls. I remember the episode where he might have knocked a girl up. The whole episode was oh poor Fonzie, what's he going to do? Indiana Jones sleeps with his mentor's almost certainly underage daughter. Then later in life leaves her tied up in a den of Nazis. And that's on top of all the grave robbing. Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye is often seen as a symbol of teenage angst. But his judgmental nature and dishonesty complicate his reliability as a hero. General Eero, sweet wise uncle, you just once he was actually a legendary genocidal warlord who didn't give a solitary fuck until war affected him personally. Buffy Summers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer saved the world a lot. But her relationships and decisions are sometimes as messy as the monsters she battles. I don't know if you'd consider him a hero, but Dumbledore. He let literal children fight a war and played with their lives like they were a game of chess. King Arthur in various stories is seen as a noble leader, but his actions and decisions, especially concerning personal relationships, are often flawed. Indiana Jones stole artifacts from foreign nations while simultaneously destroying archaeological sites. It belongs in a museum. Fuck off. A thief. It can be a character from a book, TV show, or movie, especially a kids' movie or show. I feel a lot of them aren't as good as they're made out to be. Ozymandias. I'm gonna kill millions of men, women, and children, and blame it on another hero to prevent a nuclear war that may or may not happen. Tyler Durden in Fight Club starts a movement against consumerism, but it quickly escalates into something far more violent and uncontrollable. Piper Chapman from Orange is the New Black starts as a sympathetic character. It often makes selfish decisions that affect those around her. The Punisher pursues justice for his family's murder, but his vigilante justice involves a level of violence that challenges his hero status. Michael Scott from The Office tries to be a friend and mentor, but his lack of awareness often leads to inappropriate and harmful behavior.